Okay, let's start. So today we're going to try to show you and talk about how to become the SEO leader in your industry, SEO and content leadership, and how to secure the top spot in the SERPs. It's a big topic, so we'll jump into it in a minute. Maybe a few words about us. Why we are relevant on that, Miles? Maybe you want to say a few words about you.
Sure. I'm Miles Feyter, Director of SEO and Customer Engagement here at Brightspot, and been in the industry for over 20 years now, and originally started out as a web developer and then ended up focusing on SEO for the last 8-10 years or so.
Okay, great. And Miles is a true expert. We have lots of experts on LinkedIn and things like that, but I know Miles for we work a lot together and is a real one. We were talking about the Google leaks just right before when we were offline, and the guy is a real expert. And about me, so my name is Corentin. I'm in charge of international development here. I come from a web development background too, e-commerce industry, lots of Magento websites. I have about 1,000 different web and SEO projects. So I will try to share my experience with Miles and be as practical as possible. And maybe before we jump into the topic of this webinar, a few words about our companies, our great companies. Do you want to start, Miles?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm part of Brightspot. Brightspot is a leading enterprise CMS publishing platform. We've been in business for 16 years now. And along that way, we've been serving some major brands in a wide variety of businesses all over the world. So from Euromoney to Healthgrades, Los Angeles Times, Johnson & Johnson. So a bunch of different use cases that our platform helps solve for. We're here today, though, because empowering SEO is a priority for us. And that's everything from, kind of the basics of providing editorial fields for the most common SEO needs to publishable editorial workflows that make sure the attention to SEO isn't skipped. And then kind of one of the core tenets of our platform is that it's flexible. So the flexibility of our platform allows each of our customers to meet their specific SEO needs, which is how we can have customers in such different use cases and business models, right? And then also kind of innovating on SEO is one of our core tenets, and that's anything from integrating with LLM models like ChatGPT to direct integrations with SEMrush, where editors can do their keyword research directly in our platform while they're publishing their content. And then, of course, our new partnership and integrations with Semji, which just brings the power of your platform directly into that editorial workflow. But that's why we're here and what we do.
Yeah, perfect. And great transition about Semji. So a few words about us too. So we are an AI-based platform used by a bit more than 400 clients in 15 countries. Basically, our clients use us to streamline their SEO and content process and ensure the performance on every step of this workflow, from competition analysis to creation of your content planning, SEO optimized copywriting, monitoring of your SEO results. So it can be rankings, it can be conversion, it can be traffic, whatever KPI that you may want to track. And just so you have an idea, our client gain on average plus 40% in traffic or conversion and save a lot of time because we are able to divide by 2 the time you need to produce an SEO optimized content. So we are really happy to have big brands using Semji like on a daily basis. You can see some names here, but we have many others. So happy to be here, and maybe I have clients here in the audience. So if you're one of them, I'm happy to see you here. And for the rest, maybe you will be your clients in the next few months. So feel free to reach out at the end of the webinar. But let's start because I think we have many things to say today. So among those many things that we need to talk about, we'll talk about why SEO should be a priority, because I think that's a main topic. Why you should how to do it. So you need to choose your battles. You need to make data-driven decision. to prioritize your work, produce with performance in mind, and of course, adapt. It's a key thing when it comes to SEO because, as you know, Google evolves, your competition evolves too. So yeah, you need to adapt.
There should be a poll that's open to our viewers now.
Sorry.
What constraints do you feel when working with SEO and content? You can see that in the poll tab below. Cool.
I want to vote, but I can't. Okay.
Oh, perfect. Are you stuck on the poll?
Yeah, I think we're good. Everybody has voted? Yeah, we're good? Okay. I think it's interesting to see. I can't see the results. I don't know why. Maybe, yeah. So we have 37% saying we're still unsure of our SEO and content strategy. Nearly 38%. Okay, so you guys are in the right place. 31%, 30% of you are confident about what you guys do. So we'll try to see if you guys do the right things. And 9% of you say our tech stack presents significant obstacles. So that's for you, Miles. Those guys need to talk with you. Okay, I think that's interesting. I would say so. That means nearly half of the audience is unsure of what they are doing. That's huge. Okay, so we have a purpose here. Try to show you how to do it. So first, why SEO should be a priority. So here you can see a chart I love. Why? Because it shows you the return on investment about SEO. So if you have a manager like a CMO or a CDO telling you, okay, I don't know why I should invest in SEO, that's the chart. You need to have a screenshot of this in your desktop. Why? Because here you can see on $100 spent on digital visibility, you can see that we have about $3 on SEO. But when you have this, you compare that to on 100 visits on your website, how many comes from SEO? It's 43%. So in terms of return on investment, you can't do better. And when you compare that to the AdWords graph that you have on the right-hand side, you can see in terms of budget, it's nearly half of the budget, 39%. But in terms of visibility, it's not close in terms of rate. So SEO is a huge part of your performance, and if you have money constraints, budget constraints, you need to go for SEO because in the long run, it's the main driver for your growth. And when we talk about money conversion and things like that, and return on investments, here we need to talk about conversion rate. So as you can see here, there is a huge difference in conversion rate when we compare SEO to PPC. And that's for many reasons, but it's also about trust. And I think Miles will say a word about it. But here you can see that on some legal, on some specific markets, some specific line of business like legal, medical, real estate, financial services, the gap between conversion rate on SEO and conversion rate on PPC is huge, meaning that with the same amount of visits, at the end of the day, in terms of lead gen, in terms of revenue, and in terms of turnover, and so money in your pocket, it's not the same at all. So you need to invest in SEO. And it's not only about return on investment, it's also about quality and your brand. And Miles, I think you want to say a word.
Yeah, so it kind of comes back to that, reputation and credibility, right? So applying Google's EAT metric, which is what you're going to be doing if you're following your SEO strategy, is going to help you build that reputation and credibility. According to Forbes Advisor, good SEO requires you to improve your audience's experience by providing informative, specific content relevant to their needs. And this is producing such content also improves your reputation and credibility over time, right? So back to that previous chart, you can see in industries where that reputation and credibility is paramount, like your legal services, that SEO is going to help reinforce to the users that are the consumers on Google that are finding you, that you are trustworthy and somebody that they should do business with.
Yeah. So you should really focus on SEO, and now how to be the best, basically how to be the leader. So the first one is you need to choose your battles. It's not possible to fight on every battlefield in the world. And so how to do it? The first thing that you need to have in mind is don't use your intuition. That's not a good idea. And I will quote myself. I know that's a bit weird, but I want to do it anyway. So you need to focus on your business goals. You need to align your SEO strategy to your business strategy. Otherwise, it's not a strategy. It's a PDF, or it will flatter your ego. But we don't care about rankings. We don't care about position zero. We care about conversion at the end of the day. So basically, you need to align your SEO strategy to your business goals. And in your business goals, you have priority. It's not the same to do a visit on something that you care about because the ACV, the lifetime value, whatever, from a business standpoint, it's interesting, and to make a visit on something that you don't care about. So it's not about visits, it's about money at the end of the day. So really, really important to have in mind. You can screenshot that, have this, like print in your office, do whatever you want, but that's the first advice.
So, sorry, that's funny. To build on your point there, right? Like, don't just rely on your intuition. You might have good intuition to figure out where you should be in your space, but in today's SEO world, we really want to rely on data to make those decisions, or to reinforce what our intuition is telling us in that case, right? You can use data to inform your strategy to discover those opportunities. We have so many tools that are available to us now that just weren't here 10, 15 years ago, that it's really kind of just changed the approach to SEO altogether. So SEO strategy should be data-driven and not made in a vacuum. You've got tools like Google Search Console, which is free, that'll help you understand where you are, what your website's doing today and how it's performing. You can use tools like Ahrefs or SEMrush to understand your competition and discover opportunities around keywords and gaps between your competition and yourself. And then, of course, you can use Semji, where it consolidates a lot of these data points and helps you very quickly define an actionable step in your SEO plan. So in my mind, SEO-focused individuals are the experts in if you've got a large team of in-house SEO experts, they're probably going to spend their time in Ahrefs and SEMrush and Google Search Console and pulling all of those data together and kind of getting that bird's eye view to help define what that ultimate plan should be. Whereas CMO and non-SEO experts really jump ahead of that curve with tools like Semji, where, again, it kind of helps distill down those data points to give you something that's actionable. And I'm sure we're going to jump into some of those tools here in a bit, but it's pretty powerful.
Yes. So that at first. Second advice. So the first one, third advice, business goals, data, and understand your environment. Who are you fighting with? I don't want to fight with Mike Tyson. I want to fight with someone small, tiny. So I need to know who are my competitors. And when you talk about SEO, your business competitors are not the same than the SEO competitors. So here, let's say that you want to rank on best car insurance. Huge keyword. In my mind, it's a transactional keyword. Yet, in the reality in the US, it's not. Why? Because as you can see here, we have MarketWatch, NerdWallet, some news websites, US News, we have Forbes. We also have business competitors, J. Cole, Liberty Mutual, insurance company. So it's a bit of in between. So if you only focus your analysis on your direct competitors, so here we only have 2 of them, but we have way more, it's not going to work. Why? Because you're not looking at the right thing. So you need to have in mind that your SEO competitors are not the same as your business competitors. Your SEO competitors are the people, the website that are on the same keyword as you, and on the one that you want to rank for. So really different thing to have in mind. And when you talk to a CMO, for example, and you say just competitor, of course, they have like 2 or 3 names in mind. So make sure that you say, okay, those are the SEO competitors. Those are the people that are stealing visits out of us, those kind of things. And are your business competitors, so the one that you have in mind when you talk about your competition, are they performing on SEO on their brands, but also on unbranded traffic? And the data can be really, really different. Here, for example, you can see the market, the insurance market in the US. You can see, for example, that State Farm is the second overall when we include the brand. But State Farm is really good on the brand. So when we exclude the brand and we only want to focus on generic keyword, so I don't know, best insurance, car insurance, home insurance, those kind of things, there are only the 6 players. So basically, if you've only focused on overall data, you do not have a good vision of your market. So it's really important to have those kind of data in mind and to also have this within the next months or the years, because it's going to change, of course. It's going to fluctuate. And what makes you and them perform? Because, of course, if they perform on pages, on landing pages, on article, if they perform thanks to specific LOBs, so line of business, if they perform thanks to traffic coming from specific persona, if they perform thanks to awareness, consideration, conversion, loyalty type of page, it's not going to be the same. Because, of course, a visit, as I said before, a visit on a landing page, so made for conversion, on a huge strategic line of business for you, on the best persona ever, because you know the ACV and the lifetime value is going to be great, and on a conversion type of page, it's one visit, but it's not the same at all as a visit coming from, I don't know, an article type of page on a line of business that you don't care about, from a student with no money, and on an awareness type of page. It's not the same. Yet, it's one visit, but it's not equal. So one is not equal to one here. That's a bit weird. Yet, here it's the case. So you need to have that in mind. And here we can see a screenshot coming from Ahrefs. And you need to have that, and you need to do that. So either you have the time and the skills to do it by hand, and you use a tool like Ahrefs. So here on State Farm, you can see that their traffic are coming from specific subfolder. So insurance, customer care. On the insurance, you have on the right-hand side, on the insurance, it's coming from auto, home, quote, live, those kind of things. And you need to have that for each and every competitor that you want to analyze. And do it like each and every month, at least each and every quarter. Otherwise, you will like create your strategy out of nowhere, out of intuition, and you're gonna have problems. And because we are on an era of AI, we are lucky about it. We can use AI to do lots of things for us and to automatize those processes. So our recommendation here is to customize an AI model. Either you have the skills to do it because you have like AI engineers or prompt engineers in your teams, or you ask an AI company to do it, or you use a tool like Semji, whatever you want. But it's really important because here you need to make your reality fit your market. So here, for example, we can see on the vehicle line of business on the insurance industry in the US, what's the market? Who's doing what? Who's performing? And here, if you want to click on the little button, you can go and see the pages that are ranking. And those kind of data are like so impactful because you can just align your reality to your competition. And you can do the same with your persona. So here you can classify your pages and your competitors' pages based, again, on your reality. And your reality are the persona, because as I said, it's not the same for you to have a visit coming from a student and from a business owner, depending on, of course, your type of business. So here in my example, if you want a driver coming to your website because you know that you want to sell car insurance because you have high conversion rates and you, from a business standpoint, it's the kind of traffic that you want to get, you need to have a specific approach about that, a specific strategy only about drivers. So that's something that you should focus on. And there is another thing that we learn here is that you have, for State Farm, for example, nearly 50% of your traffic on pages that are not made for a specific persona. So you have a problem because, of course, if this page is not made for a specific persona, the conversion rate will not be the same. So you need to repurpose. You need to maybe choose a different angle, because maybe your tone of voice will be different. Maybe the CTA will be different. Maybe the length of your content will be different. Whatever, it's going to be different to talk and to write for a business owner, for a senior, or for a student. So you need to repurpose those to get more, not more traffic, but more conversion, because it's not going to change a thing about your ranking, yet it's going to change a lot on the conversion. So what we care about here is to, with the same ranking and so the same amount of visits, have more conversion by repurposing those contents. Now we have our strategy. We use AI to save a lot of time, and we need to identify the best piece of content to create or optimize. And that's the production.
Right. You've done your work to figure out what the landscape looks like. Now we need to figure out what exactly pieces do we need to create or optimize, right? Of course, here's the bad news. According to Ahrefs, 96% of pages get zero traffic from Google. So clearly, there's a huge effort that somebody's put out there for all of this content that's really just not doing anything for them, right? And John Miller from Google supports this theory, you know, with his quote of lots of SEOs and sites produce terrible content that should not be worth indexing. Just because it exists doesn't mean it's useful to users. Really what he's stating is, you know, it kind of goes back to Google's core tenet. Your SEO focus should be trying to solve your users' need. When they type in that Google search, you want to be the most appropriate, useful answer, and Google will hopefully raise you to the top of those ranks, right? But you need to be focused on what that effort is. So I think your next slide here, Corentin, talks about how to define what that is.
It's really about quality and focusing on the right battles. So my point here is you need to work less to gain more, because we've seen so many websites like trying to overproduce, saying, okay, I want to produce 1,000 content per month. We don't care about that if those pages don't get any traffic. So basically is how can I choose the right keywords or the right pages to work on? So basically here is try to identify, depending on your resources, I mean, human resources and time, the 1%, 5%, 10% of your pages that would benefit most from being re-optimized or created. So you have two ways of doing it. The first one is really easy. Everybody can do it. You use a tool like Ahrefs or SEMrush or whatever tool that you might be using. You identify your URLs with rankings between 5 and 20, meaning those are, you're not that far. It can be kind of frustrating, yet it's a great opportunity. Why? Because you have no visit or not that much visit, yet you're not that far. So you're relevant and you have all the chances in the world to rank on those keywords. And because that can be a huge amount of keywords and a huge amount of pages, you prioritize your URLs based on the search volume of the keywords, your current ranking. Of course, it's not the same if you are in the 5th position or if you are in the 20th position. The competition intensity, so you can use a tool like Ahrefs to tell you the domain rating, because of course, if you're competing against the government or if you're competing against a little blog, it's not the same. And of course, your business value. We talked about aligning your business goals. Here it's that. Basically, a visit is not equal to another visit. So you can have a score out of 5, and then you can have an average, and that's your priority score. You can do that in the G Sheets. If you have a small website, that's perfect. But that needs to be on at least, what would we say? At least each quarter, at least each semester. Yeah, I would say quarter.
You do want to stay on top of these things. It's not a set it and forget it kind of thing, especially with the constant changes from Google and your competitors and everything else. Yeah, monthly, if not quarterly. Yeah.
If you don't have the time, you can use some tools that do it for you. So here's an algorithm that's Semji's that will classify all of your pages. So that's semji.com based on potential versus difficulty. So you have this score that I talked about. So basically it's how much can I gain and is that going to be hard based on what my competitors, what's my current ranking, what's the length of my competitors' content compared to mine, etc., etc. And we give you a score. So you need to do that. And once we have prioritized all that work, you have all of your content planning, you need to produce with performance in mind. And you do not want to produce with your brand in mind. We don't care about what you expect. We care about what the audience and Google expects out of you. Of course, you need to find a good in between. That's obvious. Yet, you need to have a mind oriented to your audience. What do they need? And so basically here, it's the meat of the brief. And I think that's a great use case.
Right. So, and you've kind of touched on it, right? When you're trying to figure out what that expectation is, you have your business goal of what you want to drive people to do, but ultimately you need to be answering their search query. And the manual way to do this is to do those searches yourself, look at the top 10 results, deconstruct their content, look at the headlines that they are using, and try to figure out how they address that question and how in depth they address the question. Was it a 2-paragraph page, or is it 3,000 words addressing every variation of that, right? Because if that's what's ranking today in Google, that's what you're going to need to be producing to be in that same spot, right? And you're also going to need your own take on it. You can't just repeat what everybody else has been doing. You need to be adding value. Then Google will see that and raise you up. Of course, there's a screenshot of your Semji tool integrated into Brightspot, where it actually does all of that work for you, which is pretty amazing, in the sense of you can check your competitors against your particular keyword, and it will show you the headlines that those top 10 pages are using, so that you can be very quickly informed on what your content outline should be at an asset level, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, and maybe something that we need to talk about is about keyword. We hear a lot about, okay, what keyword do I need to insert in my text? We don't care about that, because it's like we're not in 2010 anymore. So keyword stuffing is not something that you need to care about. It's really about what's the intent of my audience. We talked about quality before, what my audience is expecting out of me, out of my piece of content. So what are the topics that I should tackle within my piece of content to be relevant to my audience? Because that's what Google expects out of you. And because you will need to make some choices, otherwise you will create like 10,000 words piece of content, and you can't do that because that's going to be too costly. Basically, you will make your choices based, of course, on search volume, on business priorities, but also on something that I love is something like what I call a blue ocean. Some of you might have heard about it. It's not something out of me. It's coming from Kim and Mobone. That's two searchers. And here you can see on the keyword DXP commerce, you have many topics that you should or you could write about. Digital experience, platform, open source services, definition. And some are more intense from a competitive standpoint. And here you can see that the third topic in terms of volume have not that much competition. So basically here, if I were a CMS or a DXP, I would tackle that specific topic. Why? Because even if I'm not an open source CMS or a DXP, I could write about what's the difference between Brightspot and an open source, or how can you migrate from an open source to Brightspot. Mm-hmm. So you use that term, you answer the intent with your specific angle, because of course you have an identity and you have your specificities, yet you're answering what your audience is looking for. And with that, you will, of course, gain more traffic because you rank on something that you were not ranking for at first, but also you will gain legitimacy on the main keyword. And so you will gain rankings on the DXP keywords. So it's a win-win situation here. So that's the kind of thing that you need to have in mind. You can do it by hand. Go and see your competitors, see the structure, maybe like extract or retrieve all the data, all the keywords that they rank on, or you can use some tools to do it for you, because if you have many pages to create, it's not possible to do it by hand. Now we've done that, and you need to do that with efficiency, because lots of you here are creating 10 content per day, 100 contents per day, maybe more. And so it's not possible to do everything by hand. And so how you work matters a lot.
It really does. And your focus on efficiency and adaptability are kind of key here, right? So you've built up your plan, you know what your content that you want to create, and now you need a process that's going to let you be efficient and get that content out there in a reasonable time, right? So streamlining your process, and that could be anything from like exporting and consolidating your data. A simple spreadsheet can be pretty enlightening, and that's like you pull that Google Search Console data, the SEMrush stuff, and you merge that bird's eye view sometimes just shows you opportunities you weren't going to see before. But again, extracting that, putting it in a spreadsheet, having a system for it speeds that process up and makes it consistent, so your workflow is easy. And then working with integrated tools reduces that context switching. And those integrated tools can be anything from like Yoast or SEMrush. They both have writing assistants that tie into Google Docs. So if your editors are using Google Docs and those other tools to produce their content, doing that all in one space really kind of helps everyone along the way and speeds up that process. Of course, Semji has their Chrome plugin, which is very powerful. The way Brightspot addresses that from our publishing platform is we have integrations with SEMrush, where we can pull in those related keywords and their search volume right into the publishing flow. So as editors are creating their content, they can see maybe where they want to focus their efforts on what they're writing. And then, of course, now we have the Semji integration, which takes that kind of to the next level and brings in that competitive analysis and the keyword research right into the CMS. The other piece to this is adaptability, right? The web is constantly changing, and what your needs are constantly changing. So having a flexible publishing platform that can adjust along with Google is paramount, right? An example to that would be schema support. Google's kind of constantly changing their adoption of schema, and those have pretty big impacts on what the SERPs are, right? You can get yourself into rich results depending on which schemas you are supporting on your site. So having a platform that lets you be flexible on what you do there, it can be very powerful. Obviously, Core Web Vitals, they're constantly shifting. We now have INT to worry about and figure out how to address. So having a platform that lets you solve for that kind of in real time is going to be impactful. Anyway, and then, simple things like the meta tag for max image preview. Who saw that coming a couple of years ago? But the ability to get that on your page and improve your experience and discovery had a pretty dramatic impact for some people. So being flexible.
If I can add something like, maybe I can maybe give you a story that I had with a client a few months ago. Huge clients, multinational, website all over the world. And we were like, okay, you need to change and you need to write more content on your transactional pages. It was an e-commerce website. Mm-hmm. And the SEO person, the SEO team, 5 people, senior, were like, okay, we know we need to do that. We know that we need to create some FAQ at the end of our category pages of that. But we can't do it. Why? Because the templates are not, we can't adapt the templates. It's like that, and it's not going to change. We need to migrate the CMS, and it was a custom CMS. We need to create new templates, so we're never going to do it. So we can't. We know we should be doing it, but we will not. And I was like, okay, but why are we here? So it can be kind of weird. So that's something that you need to think about. It can be, of course, your CMS. It can be your templating. It can be lots of things, but you need to have that in mind. Otherwise, you will have constraint that will, constrain your growth, basically. So, yeah, really important to have that in mind.
Yeah.
Go for it.
This is the Brightspot promo slide. With that in mind, right? that is Brightspot's kind of core tenet. We want to be the last CMS you'll ever need. We're kind of API driven behind the scenes. So of course we can be the end-to-end solution for publishing to front end and everything you need. But we also realize and embrace the idea that we want to be extensible and tie into your other systems that are already doing things successful for you, whether that's your DAM or your own AI solution, right? The idea that you have a flexible publishing platform that can grow with you and change with the web is paramount.
Yeah, and SEO is one of those things. not the only one, but you need to build your SEO stack or your SEO workflows around your existing workflows. Otherwise, you will struggle with adoption and education and all those kind of things, because often the people that actually have an impact on SEO are not SEO people.
Yep.
Within teams. It's copywriters, it's journalists, it's image merchandisers. Those people are the actual producers that will impact the SEO performance. So if you say, okay, you will need to do this and that, they won't do it. But if you say, okay, now you have that in your actual workspace where you have your habits and all of that, they will do it because it's easy for them. So it's really important to have that in mind. And again, SEO is the best tactic in the world. Here, it's a study from Brightspot. 87% of CMOs believe SEO is the most effective digital marketing tactic for driving website traffic. That's huge. So basically, help your teams to achieve your own goals. Because here, if you are a CMO, you need to help your team because you want to do it. So help them do it with you. And we need to create meaning and motivate your team. We talked about it before, but how we do it, Miles?
Yeah, so you kind of just touched on this, right? Like it's the editors and sometimes the image, whoever's uploading the images. Did they put in the alt text? It's really everybody that drives the SEO engine here, and it's pretty key to get buy-in from everyone, from the CMO all the way down to the editorial teams, right? People perform better when they see the larger picture. Simple things like publishing meta descriptions are more likely to happen when the impact is understood by everyone. And the way you do that is you involve the teams early. You involve the teams with those SEO decisions, from everything from picking the tools down to defining what your editorial workflows are, right? And once everybody's involved with the process and understanding how that process is going to affect the end results, you get better buy-in and better performance. Another way to do this is motivating your editorial teams. And that can be as simple as using something like the Semji content score as a guide to a motivation tool, right? Like, are your editorial teams keeping their scores up with their editorial content to stay current with what you need for SEO purposes, right? Another way Brightspot addresses this within the CMS is we have the ability to publish custom dashboards with charts and or reports. We can tie those into Google Search Console or analytics data, right? So we can have dashboards that show such and such editors produce this amount of content and the trend for its Google organic search impressions are going up or down, right? Kind of gamifying the system, but also keeping people involved and understanding that their efforts do have a real impact, I think is pretty key to motivating your teams.
And maybe if I can add something about involving your team, I think that's one of the key of our projects. And from start to like the bottom line, basically. And if you can, if that's possible, sometimes it's not possible, involve your team in the buying process. Why? Because us as an SEO tool, for example, when we have some like people actually doing it and can tell the colleagues, okay, we need to do it. Why? Because for this and that reason. It's not the same as when we come and we have a PO signed by the CMO, but nobody knows about us. Of course, they will feel like, okay, that's an order to me, and nobody likes to be given orders. So if you involve your team in the buying process, maybe with a test, maybe with help with them in demos or things like that, it will help a lot at the beginning of the project. Because otherwise, we as an SEO platform, we will onboard the team, but the first session will be all about what we are. Why are we here? And so if we can spend less time on that and more time on, okay, we will do that, and that's the next step, and that's the KPI that we want to track and all of that, it's not the same project at all. So involve your team at every step of the process. Now we know what to do, produce really well, we do it in the long run because our teams are motivated, but it's never finished. Otherwise, we're not in the SEO industry, so you need to adapt or die. And we saw so many websites died in the last years or last months even. So to perform in the long run, you need to be flexible. And of course, we will quote the great Charles Darwin with, I think, one of the best quotes in the world. It's not the strongest that survive, but the species that survives is the one that is able to adapt and adjust best to the changing environment in which it finds itself. That was hard. Sorry about this one. But basically, you need to adapt, otherwise you will die. So here, I think you need to understand that your audience and the intent behind the same keyword will change in the time. So we have a poll. Is your current publishing platform flexible enough to keep up with SEO and other content demand to, of course, enable yourself to adapt? You can vote, and I will try to be a bit more reactive than on the previous poll. Okay, lots of people voting. Who's winning? Mostly there are some gaps, but we're fine. Mostly, but we are or could be evaluating other technologies. Okay, and 16% of you guys saying it is not the most effective tools. Okay. So most of you are like, I'm fine, but it could be better. That's a classic answer. Okay, really, really interesting. Here you can see some screenshot of the exact same URLs at different like timestamp in 2020, 2022, 2024. It's the exact same URL ranking first for years in the same keyword, best smartphone in the US or best phone in the US. So that's a huge, really competitive keyword. And why it's still first? Because they are adapting, like, I think each week or at least each 15 weeks, they are optimizing their piece of content, changing the angle, changing, of course, what's the best phone, because of course it's changing. The iPhone 11 is not the best phone anymore for obvious reason. So it's really important to have that in mind. And you can see that the template of the page has also evolved within time.
Yeah,
so
it's pretty staggering how much they had to change, right, to maintain that position just in the last 4 years. Those are pretty big layout changes, if nothing else. Yeah. But like really, you can see that they focused also on the 2024 model. They're diving into that user intent and having all of those other subsections now easily clickable, deep linked. That's obviously a long tail article at this point, addressing every variation of something that somebody might be searching for around that top phone. So,
and I think they are in the first position on the same keyword for 6 years. That's great. I don't know who's the SEO guy at TechRadar, but I want to meet this guy. Also, Google is evolving like each and every day. And here you can see in 1997, like the look and feel of Google was awful. But of course, it was the beginning of the web industry. And you can see now in 2024, we have some answers with the AI overview. It's changing every day. Of course, the layout of Google itself, but also the algorithm. At first, it was all about net linking. If you have many, many links, you're going to rank first. It's not the case at all. Now it's all about quality. So yeah, it's changing, and you need to take that into account to make your website evolve too.
Yeah.
And that's a use case, and I think that's a great use case because the health industry is moving so fast. And you were within that change, Mal. So I'll leave the stage, and that's you. That's you.
Sure. So to your point, Dispatch Health is a customer of ours that migrated off of WordPress a few years ago. And to your the health space is incredibly competitive here in the US. These guys are an in-home provider of healthcare. So their mantra is that they bring the power of the hospital to the comfort of your home. So their SEO strategy was really pretty interesting, right? Like they are trying to win your business, to bring doctors and nurses to your house to give you direct care. But their approach from an SEO standpoint was not to just focus just on that, but it was also to look at the user intent. Hey, what are the conditions and the diseases and the procedures that we can address and treat? And let's try to get the users who are searching on those conditions and procedures looking for information about that. Let's be in that space, right? Because those people are looking for care ultimately, but they didn't know that they wanted to search for Dispatch Health. What they wanted to search for is, I have this problem and how do I solve it, right? So Dispatch Health's approach to that was, again, to figure out what those conditions were that they were key to treat, but then also build out SEO content that address those users' intent around that. So they answer the most common questions around those particular diseases and conditions. And lo and behold, they did end up raising up in the ranks for those. One of the things they used to elevate their ranks, though, was along with the migration to Brightspot from WordPress, they had a pretty significant page performance on page speed. This was back when Core Web Vitals was more or less recently introduced, and everybody was focused on that. But the other thing they did was adapt their adoption of schema. So Dispatch Health ranks really well because it offers the content that addresses these users' most common needs while coming from a trusted medical organization. And the way they reinforce this is with schema declaring themselves as a medical organization whose founders are MDs. The content is marked as medical webpage, and it's also been medically reviewed by an accredited doctor. All of these things kind of reinforcing that expertise on the subject matter, right? Things that Google is looking for. Well, I even use the breadcrumb schema to, again, reinforce that the content is part of a larger collection of relevant content, while also providing kind of advanced SERP experiences. And, in this case, the flexibility of Brightspot's content model made this possible to quickly adapt their pages and their experience to adopt these schemas that were pretty specific to them, right? Unless you're a medical organization, your systems you probably don't need those schema support. But we were able to build that out for them in really quick turnaround, and it had a pretty profound impact on them. If we go to the next slide, it's just kind of a sampling of.
And because the results are pretty amazing.
Yeah, these are difficult things to rank for, right? Highly sought after, and these guys have presented themselves as experts in that field because, well, they are, and they're using their website and their business model to support their expertise in that.
Yeah, and I love the approach because it's tackling both the person-oriented approach, but also the marketing funnel stage approach. Basically, when we have someone looking for breathless sleep, those guys, they have a problem, and you have the solution as a company. So you want those guys to come into your website. Of course, they don't want to book an appointment at first, yet they will do it maybe in the next few weeks. So you need for them to go to your website. So I think that's a great use case.
It really plays back into that slide we talked about earlier, right? Where, they could have, and they probably do, pay for pay-per-click advertising around these subjects as well. But when that particular consumer or user found them doing a Google search on how do I treat this thing that I have, and they were the top result in Google, and they addressed their concerns with that content on what that particular condition was, well, now they're a trusted source. And, oh, look, you guys treat this source. Yeah, I'm going to give you a call. I'm going to have you come to my house and solve this right now. It's worked pretty well.
And that's a good conversion rate keyword. We need to conclude and answer the question. So 3 things to remember. The first one, we talked about it a lot. I know I was about to say a pain in the ass about it, but that's important. So align your SEO strategy with your business goal. That's so important. The second one is your battle. That's on you.
Yeah. Again, use your data to inform your strategy. I know we kind of harped on that early on too, but there's no reason to make these decisions in a vacuum. There's so much data available to you from free tools to paid tools. Do your research and pick the right battle.
And the last one, find ways to save time to focus on quality. Maybe if you focus 10% of your time trying to find new ways to automate things, at the end of the day, you will not save 10% of the time, but maybe 50 or 60% of your time. So always have that in mind. How can I automatize that? How can I not do that again? Because I don't want to repeat the exact same task all over. Thanks, guys. I think we have many questions. So feel free to vote for the questions that are the most interesting to you. So Stephanie Kennan, what happens when everybody uses the same AI tools? How do you maintain an advantage? I think that's a great question. I do have an answer because we are an AI-based platform, but maybe Mars, you want to start with this one?
Sure. I think in the future, or where we are already today, you can't not use AI tools. It's just, it speeds up the process, right? It makes your work so much more efficient. I think what you want to get away from is relying on those AI tools alone. You still need to come at the subject matter with your own expertise and add that value, right? Add something unique that is improving upon what AI only knows what's out there already, right? It's not going to add value on its own. It's going to distill what already exists. So your job as the SEO and the expert in that field is to add that extra sauce on top that makes it extra usable, or addresses those questions from your expertise and your perspective. That's the piece that's missing.
Yeah, I think what you want to do is to try to save time when it's possible. Basically, we talked about AI classification at the beginning of the webinar. That's the kind of thing that you could do by hand, saying, okay, this URL is an article made for this persona, and that's, I don't know, a vehicle type of page. But that's going to take so long. If you want to do it for each and every page of your website and your competitor's website, it's going to take days. It's not even possible to do it by hand. So basically, that's one use case. And it needs some expertise of your product, of your competitive environment. The second thing is to use AI as an hybrid mode. So basically, don't rely on AI alone, as Mal said. So either you create a specific tone of voice with your constraint, with your identity, or you just use AI for a first draft, as if you were like an agency gives you a piece of content, and then you will repurpose it, make it your own, maybe insert some images, insert some CTAs, those kind of things to make it your own, and to not only rank, because that I would say everybody can do, but convert at the end of the day. I hope this answered the question. The second one is from Anna. Can you give an example with a specific keyword about how to repurpose the content based on intent and persona? We talked about it with Dispatch Health. But basically, let's say that you have a page about cellulitis or at different stages of healing or things like that. And that piece of content is also, I don't know, using some male keyword for men. That's a male will never, or not that much, go and convert on a cellulitis conversion. Why? Because that's a female problem. We have other problem, of course, yet that should be only written for a female audience. And so maybe you will use some references, a tone of voice that is made for this specific audience. So basically, that's the kind of thing that you could do. Yeah, maybe. Do you want to add something on that, Mars?
No, that was a pretty good example. I mean, when we use intent and persona, I can take the Brightspot website as an example, right? Like we're a publishing platform. We try to solve a lot of different needs depending on users from a bunch of different personas and perspectives. So trying to identify what those personas are and then speak to them directly is a valuable resource for us, because then the CMO is looking to solve one particular problem where tech leads want to know, what technologies you support or what dev support you might have in your documentation, right? Like they're going to come at the same problem from different directions, and addressing that is key.
Yeah, and we talked about persona, but maybe also about intent. And the intent can change. Some keywords during COVID and now are not the same. like I don't know, travel during COVID was a breaking news keyword, because people were looking for, can I travel? What are the constraints to travel right now? But now travel is a conversion type of keyword. We have kayak, we have booking, we have those kind of website ranking on it. So you need to change and adapt, because of course the audience is looking for different things, even if that's the exact same keyword. So yeah, again, adapt or die. But if you want to, if you have a specific example, Anna, feel free to reach out and we can tackle it together.
Sure.
Then we have Cadence saying, I have a very volatile keyword that I can't seem to get above average position of 5, and it constantly falls. Many changes have been done. Any ideas on how can I get this keyword to rank better? Wow, that's an hard one. Many things to talk about here. Of course, there are some technical things to be done, but also some backlinking. So maybe if that's a very competitive keyword, it's hard to be above a certain position if you don't have any backlinks. Maybe check at the anchors of your backlink. Of course, there is a content optimization thing. Make sure that you answer to each and every question of the audience, so that you can use people also ask questions. You can use position 0. You can use vocal search to find those questions. So maybe create an FAQ. Also make sure that you answer to each and every related search intents. So search intents about your main keyword, and to tackle all of that. And maybe one last advice is create other pages that are related to the main topic, to create what we call a topic cluster, and push the main page with internal linking to help that page to rank better. That's a full SEO strategy in itself. Miles, do you have any other ideas?
No, that's what I was going to touch on there too. Do you have a content hub or other supporting content around that idea? And realistically, are you the expert on the keyword that you're chasing? And does your site have the content that supports that? Because if it doesn't, you need to build that out too, to help reinforce the fact that you're the expert on that subject.
You're going to make it, Cadence. John, that's a good one. I find getting company-wide buy-in for SEO tasks very difficult. Is there anything I can do for dev teams, PM and merchandising teams, and others to consider more closely the impact their roles have on SEO performance? Wow, that's a great one. I think the main point here is education. You need people to understand why.
You need to borrow those first 3 slides on why SEO is important and how it impacts the bottom line of the business, and maybe overly impacts based on some of the other efforts, right? Again, versus paid per click. But emphasizing that importance to all of those people helps them buy in. And after that, it can be an uphill battle sometimes.
I don't know in which industry you're in, but I can give you a story for any of your clients. Pharmaceutical company, content produced by doctors or people like that. And the main point was, okay, we have great content. It's really, really interesting, but it's never ranking. Why? Because it's not made to rank. So they use Semji to repurpose those contents to have more visibility. And the point was, okay, you spend many, many hours writing content that nobody can see. What's the point of that? If you are in the media industry, for a journalist, it's better to be in the first page of the journal than to be between 2 ads in the 8th page. That's the exact same thing with SEO. You want to be first because you want your content to be visible. So in terms of motivation and maybe a bit of ego, it's better if you're visible. And I think we're late. If you have other questions, feel free to reach out. You have Miles' address. You have mine too. If you want some specific question, just let us know. We'll be happy to answer in private message too. If you want a demo, a tour, we talked about our tools and our platform. So of course, we'll be happy to show you how that works and takes personalized examples. Thanks for being here. Thanks for today. Thanks, Miles, for sharing the stage with me. It was great. And guys, see you soon.
Yeah, thank you so much. Take care, everyone.
See ya.